African-American regiment to serve in the Civil War. This memorial, which is right across the State House, is a staple of Massachusetts history. This isn't the first time that the memorial has been defaced. In 2012, a Quincy woman was arrested for splattering the memorial with yellow paint. And it is a crazy morning down here at Fenway Park as fans gather to celebrate opening day of Major League Baseball.
It's the first day of spring. Even when it's snowing, it's still it means we're almost done. We're almost in summer.
This season, the Red Sox are debuting a roster of both new and old players against the Pirates today at 2:05 p.m. This being the first season since David Ortiz's retirement, the Red Sox are committed to proving that they can win with a fresh team.
More pitching is always good. After that, who knows? But more reliable pitching always gives us a better shot.
How long have you been waiting in line?
Since about 7:15 in the morning.
How long have you been a Red Sox fan?
Since birth, basically.
For many in Boston, baseball is a way of life, and to some, it's a way to make a living. Many restaurants in and around Fenway are debuting new menus, including lobster rolls, lobster poutine, and 12,000 freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. But of course, the classic Fenway Frank is always available if you really want that true baseball experience. Though the season's just beginning, many see this as an opportunity to begin the road to the World Series.
I'm Peter Drummey, the Stephen T. Riley Librarian of the Massachusetts Historical Society.
The Boston Marathon is coming up on Monday. I would just like to talk about a little bit from start all the way up until now.
The Boston Marathon dates back to the beginning of the modern Olympic movement. That is, the Boston Marathon is about the same age as the International Olympic Marathon. At the end of the 19th century, this revival and interest in Olympic sports and the marathon, tracing its history back to ancient Greece, people running equivalents of it elsewhere in the world. Over the course of the 20th century, it became more than just a local event. The Boston Marathon, essentially athletic club in Boston running this local event, and over the course of the 20th century grew into this international event, one of the most famous marathons in the world, and one of the most challenging because it has a course that goes up and down over interesting terrain.
Do you think the attendance and all of the hype for the Boston Marathon has increased or decreased since the bombings?
I've worked here in the Back Bay of Boston almost 40 years, so I've seen a lot of marathons going back to my childhood, either directly or on television, and the interest and enthusiasm has grown. It was so large, say, 5 or 10 years ago, that it's hard to believe almost it could grow any more than that. It certainly hasn't decreased since the events, the bombing.
Considering such a dramatic day, everybody has their moment that they talk about. Where were you the day of the bombings?
Oddly enough, the day of the marathon is the one day that we don't come to the Historical Society, whether it's open or not, simply because the mass of people who gather here in this neighborhood. So I was actually at home, although I came into work. We were so close to this that it seemed important, me because I work right here in this neighborhood. Clearly many people from not just around Boston, but throughout New England gathered here. Coming here to be near this place seemed almost to be this groundswell that grew up. And for the following days, when the scene of the explosions was closed off as a crime scene, and where Boston itself was closed down officially, it was amazing how many people made their way here, even if it meant walking a long distance to get here. It seemed important to people. And also this enormous sort of temporary monument grew up just down the street. But when I came into Boston just shortly after the bombing, you could look down this length of Boylston Street, and it's something that'll always stay with me, this feeling that something had been not necessarily changed, because it's remarkable how quickly things came back, but how scarring it was, what had happened there, and how important it seemed to be to come back to work, to be here. It's one of the few times I've ever been interviewed in the aftermath because I was here and available, and it seemed important to be able to tell people, especially about other things in Boston history, people who are trying to make sense of this. And
final question, are you going to be in attendance at this year's marathon?
Here, close at hand to it. Actually, that's an interesting point. It seems now more important to be here than it was once, where you could say, oh, I don't want to fight the crowd to get there. Now it seems like part of it.